My brother said I couldn't bring my wife to Thanksgiving because she makes people uncomfortable. She's in a wheelchair. I sent him a photo from the resort we booked instead. Then Mom texted, bring back the pie dish. I replied, ask the able-bodied one. The phone felt cold in my hand, colder than the November air seeping through the window frame of our small apartment. It was a weight, a dense, dark little rectangle of glass and metal that had just detonated my world. I stared at the screen, at the words my own brother, Mark, had sent me. The message glowed with a kind of obscene innocence, black text on a white background, as if it were discussing the weather or what time to show up for dinner. But it wasn't. It was an execution. Hey man, about Thanksgiving, it began, so deceptively casual. Listen, we need to talk about Alara. Mom and I were talking, and it's going to be a bit much this year. She makes people uncomfortable. I read that last sentence over and over. She makes people uncomfortable. My wife, Alara, the woman I had loved for a decade, the woman who had faced a diagnosis that would have shattered most people, and had done so with a grace that still left me breathless. The woman who navigated a world not built for her with a quiet strength that was the bedrock of my own. She, who was currently in the next room humming along to some old soul song while sketching in her notebook, made people uncomfortable. My thumb hovered over the reply button, a useless little digit trembling with a rage so pure and so hot it felt like it could melt the screen. What do you even say to that? How do you respond to a statement that is not just an insult, but a fundamental rejection of the person you love most in the world? A rejection of your life, your marriage, your reality? It wasn't an opinion. It was a verdict. She, and by extension I, were judged and found wanting, unsuitable for the perfect family portrait of a Thanksgiving dinner. I could hear the soft scratch of her pencil on paper from the living room. It was a sound that had become part of the background music of our lives, as familiar and comforting as the hum of the refrigerator or the creak of the floorboards. Alara had been an architect before the accident. Now, she drew. She drew buildings that would never be built, cities of impossible grace and beauty. And she drew portraits, capturing the small, fleeting expressions on people's faces with an unnerving accuracy. She saw people, all of them, and my family, my own blood, was telling me they couldn't bear to see her. The discomfort wasn't about Alara. It was never about her. It was about her wheelchair. It was about the fact that her presence reminded them of things they didn't want to think about. Fragility, misfortune, the messy, unpredictable nature of life. Her chair was a physical manifestation of the truth that things can break, that bodies can fail, that the neat and tidy narratives they built for themselves were a lie. They wanted a holiday from reality, and Alara, simply by existing, was a disruption. She was an inconvenient truth sitting at their perfectly set table. I backed out of the message thread, my heart hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. My breath was shallow, ragged. This wasn't the first time. Oh, it was never the first time with them. It was a campaign, a slow, grinding war of 1,000 paper cuts. It was the forgetting to mention that the restaurant they'd chosen had 3 steps at the entrance and no ramp. It was the family barbecue where the only accessible bathroom was out of order. It was the constant, cloying offers of help that were less about assistance and more about highlighting her dependence, infantilizing her in front of everyone. Oh, let me get that for you, dear, my mother would say in a high, pitying voice, snatching a glass from Alara's hand before she could even reach for it. Each time I had made excuses for them. They don't mean it, I'd tell Alara later, the words tasting like ash in my mouth. They're just from a different generation. They don't understand. And Alara, my endlessly patient, endlessly kind Alara, would just squeeze my hand and say, it's okay, my love. I know, but it wasn't okay. And she knew that too. I saw it in the flicker of pain in her eyes before she smoothed it over with a smile for my benefit. I was a coward. I had been choosing their comfort over her dignity for years, and I had dressed it up as keeping the peace. This text, though, this was different. This wasn't a microaggression. This wasn't a thoughtless oversight.
Full story on channel link below.